And it begins. So, this is Norris Teaches Science with Mr. Norris, Biology Edition. Today we're going to talk about prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. So, by the end of the video, I'm hoping that you can say, I can compare prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells. So, these are some basic stuff, the basics of understanding cells, which we're going to be talking about in a couple other videos as we go forward. But before that, let's talk about the cell theory. There are 3 points to the cell theory, and the first point is that all living cell things are made of cells. Living things. So referring back to our first video in the series talking about characteristics of life, anything that's living is made of cells. So you're living, so you're made of cells, or dogs are living, they're made of cells. The second thing is cells are the smallest living thing, so it's the smallest thing that can be considered living. And the third point is that cells come from other cells. In a future video, we're going to talk about how cells divide or replicate or reproduce. But for right now, you just need to know that cells come from other cells. So there are two types of cells out there. You have prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells, or prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between the two. Prokaryotic cells. Some basic stuff about prokaryotic cells. One, they have no nucleus. Pro rhymes with no, so they have no nucleus, no brain of the cell. They have no membrane-bound organelles. That means there's no little small structures in like a little envelope around the cell. They're simple compared to eukaryotic cells, and they're actually a little smaller than eukaryotic cells. Now, remember, all cells have DNA. DNA in prokaryotic cells are in the cytoplasm, a jelly filling of the cell. And so, see all this clear stuff in this picture that I'm going over? That's the cytoplasm. And the DNA is right there. It is in the cytoplasm. It's not contained into anything else. The DNA shape is a circular shape, and they can only do about one job at a time. So they can't be chewing gum and walking at the same time. Either they're going to, in a sense, move, and then when they want to eat, they have to stop moving to eat. They can only do one job at a time. Most are single-celled, and when we think of prokaryotic cells, we're going to think of bacteria. Bacteria is considered prokaryotic. Remember, pro rhymes with no, so it doesn't have a nucleus. The other cell is called a eukaryotic cell, and U rhymes with do. They have a nucleus. If you look in the picture, you can see the nucleus right here. They have membrane-bound organelles, so we're talking about stuff like the mitochondria, the lysosomes, the endoplasmic reticulum, the Golgi apparatus. Right? They have those types of organelles. Those have their structures are inside like a little envelope. They're complex. If you look at this picture compared to the last picture, it's more complex, more going on. They can multitask, so they can digest food and move and make energy all at the same time. Their DNA is located in the nucleus, so it's enclosed in something, and the DNA shape is linear. I know I say it weird. My students get on me all the time. It's just how I say it. It's like a line. And we're going to talk again in another future video more about DNA shape and how everything works with DNA. Just for right now, you just need to know where it's located in each of the cells and its shape for each of the two cells. They can be single-celled or multicellular. And when you think of eukaryotic cells, you're thinking of like plant cells, animal cells, even fungi are composed of eukaryotic cells. So if you look between the two, they're kind of opposites of each other, but they do have stuff that they have in common. So both the prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells have about 5 things in common. They both have something called a cell membrane. It keeps the cell contained. All the stuff that it does have keeps it contained in one area. They both have cytoplasm. That's that jelly filling in there. They both have DNA. Remember, the DNA is just in different locations and shapes, but they both have DNA. They both have ribosomes. We're going to talk a little bit in the next video about what ribosomes do, and then ribosomes come really important when we talk about DNA again. And if it's a plant-like structure, they both would have cell walls. And again, that's only plant-like. So this is a basic video comparing those two types of cells. We're going to be expanding now a little bit more on eukaryotic cells in the future videos. But like I always say, I hope you learned something. And this is Mr. Norris, and he is signing out.